Throw hand!
Thank you, gentlemen. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Rohan's Corner. And this week, it is the conclusion of the best on-screen Transformers Deaths Part 3. And I've saved the anomalous characters till last. So these guys are all coming from various different shows. And we kick off with none other than Transformers Prime Cliffjumper. What an epic start to that show, great animation, and we see in the very first scene of the very first episode a huge battle between the Galantis, I just made that word up, Cliffjumper character voiced by The Rock, with this strong, sort of bravado he's showing off, and he's going 100 to 1 against all these Viacon drones, and his horn is detached, and then he's basically beaten after a huge energon explosion and taken back to the ship, and Starscream thrusts and kills him with a single blow with his bare fingers, which is pretty brutal, to be honest with you. But it gets even worse when he comes back as a zombie, and it's quite gruesome, and probably the most gruesome Transformers Autobot death since G1 Prowl or Armada Smokescreen, those characters that I covered on my previous episode. So, pretty epic in my opinion. Great start to that show, and it sets it up nicely and showcased the Decepticon power from episode 1. My second character that I want to pick out for my final episode is Transformers Cyberverse Blur. And the reason why I'm picking Blur's death is because it's quite homage to Generation 1, to Cybertron, in the sense that we've got the return of Cosmic Rust. It's set on Velocitron. It's sort of the G1 type Blur character, very speedy, talks very fast, and he sacrifices himself and is engulfed by the Cosmic Rust at the end there, and you can just see it taking over his body very quickly, as fast as he did, kind of ironically, and then he just vanishes into dust and into nothingness, and that's kind of sad, with some somber music playing over the background, and they don't really mention it again, which is kind of lame, but hey, that's what happened. So Transformers Cyberverse Blur number 2. Number 3 is the first of my movie bots, and it is Revenge of the Fallen Sideways. Now, I'm not a big fan of the Bayverse movies, but this death was quite good in the sense that we had a very cool car in the Audi R8 at the time, one of the coolest cars out there, a great driving scene where he's trying to escape, I think, or do damage. It's not very clear what he's trying to do because he hasn't got any nines, so he doesn't actually say anything, but he blasts through this building at one point. It's the only time we actually see him transform into bot mode for a few milliseconds. Sideswipe swoops in, does this sort of cool and elegant kind of moves, very suave, and transforms and slices him down the middle, which is very, very cool, very, very epic. It's a shame that Sideways didn't get more time to actually have a character, but at the same time it was a very cool death, and I did enjoy that. And my very final choice for the best on-screen Transformers deaths is actually another movie character, but it's from the Bumblebee movie, and it is Cliffjumper. How could we not talk about Cliff? He seems to always be dying these days. In this incarnation of the character, we see him taking on Shatter and Dropkick, the two Decepticon mercenaries who have captured him on the moon and already displaced his arm. He's already lost his arm, and they're sort of trying to get information out of him, torturing him, and he's a soldier to the end. He doesn't give up anything, and ultimately gets split down the middle in bot mode, which is almost even more gruesome than Sideways in Revenge of the Fallen, in the sense that you see his body split apart, and again, nobody really much mentions him after that, but poor Cliff, he's gone. So that concludes my top on-screen Transformers deaths from all of the various different series and films. What did you all think? Did you like my choices? Are there any others that you would have liked to see in there? Are there any series that I missed out that you would have liked to see some from? There are a couple of honourable mentions from the Japanese series. I remember Predaking getting sliced down the middle and his brain being seen as he was sliced. That was quite cool. But yeah, any others, let us know here on Transformers the Show. For another week, I've been Rohan. Back to the studio.
Hey boys, who we've been rumbled? Let's bounce!